All right, what's going on, you guys? This is Eric here with our usual Wednesday closing bell. Max is sick today, so I don't think he'll be joining us necessarily, but we'll see if he does. And you know, don't have the most exciting earnings week, but we did have some pretty big reports. Oh, hold on, that's not this week's. There we go. We did have Oracle report yesterday, which went up like 30%. Let me pull up the chart. We have been doing our live streams on our Discord recently. We saw Oracle, look at this, jumped up like crazy. So toward the top, 42%. It's now back down just a little bit, but basically they have really high projections for the upcoming years with their backlog with AI. We did see a quick little reaction to the downside. Technically, they actually had a double miss on earnings, barely though, 0.75%. But yeah, some of those calls that we saw were up. I think the entry for one of them was like $6 or $7, went up as high as I think it was total of like 10K. When you consider all the way up to the high, there were some 250 calls, there were some 280 calls for this week and next week, and those returned pretty impressively. A proxy play was CoreWeave. We actually shouted this out in my channel yesterday as well. CoreWeave had a pretty nice pop alongside with it, related to the infrastructure play with Oracle. This one popped as much as 24%. It's down just a little bit, but if you were following my shout outs in my channel, you probably could have gotten into a few of these and profited pretty nicely. These ones were up, I think, 200% or so. I did just want to share a little bit in our profits channel. CoreWeave here, 222%. We got some Coinbase profits, 44% right here. Oracle, this guy already made $4,500. Oracle, 757% profit. Oracle, 273%, so right under 3K right there. Chemo with his Coinbase up over 100K right there. And Ichi here with over, was it 1.4K on that one. Oracle as well up here, got in at $2.34, out at $36.47. So again, we're making some pretty awesome call outs. If you go under my channel, you'll see a lot of them there, especially when if you're in stacks, go check what I've posted. These are my little bit more indirect call outs, but sometimes I'll show you what I find to be extremely interesting, especially when the flow all shows one side. So when it's all green like this, sometimes you'll have little bits back and forth. I usually filter for the buys. KWeb and PDD did technically pop overnight, but then they didn't hold in the morning, so you might not have gotten out of those necessarily. UNH, ETHA, Ethereum probably went up as well. So again, you can always check out my channel if you're in stacks, if you're in if you're in our Discord. You can always have a conversation under the main chat with us as well if you have any questions about those things. With that being said, let's turn our attention back toward stacks, get an idea of what's going on in there. Usually, like I said, I'll filter for the buys, and we will see what sticks out. Is there anything that we see continuous buying for that sways price action in a certain direction? For example, right here, these three run puts all coming in at or fork run puts coming in all together. All aiming for October, $15 strike. Premiums are kind of small, but that could be a potential move to consider. They all came in together today at the same time. Another quick way to filter for it, keep an eye over here on our flow scanner. Remember, flow scanner filters for the week of, so if I want to, I can go ahead here, filter just for today, get an idea of what's going on in there. So we see Nvidia bullish, Google 61 mil to 750K bullish on Google. Tesla, Oracle is actually flat here today, so I mean, very likely we could have we'll see a temporary pullback, and then we'll see if we continue. But the move today pushed Larry Ellison up to the number one, the richest man on earth with today. He's now richer than Elon Musk at that point. CoreWeave, we still see a lot of bullish buying here, so that might be another continuation. Palantir, that one's an interesting one. I want to share that one with you guys today. Palantir, look at this today. This is just filtered for today, guys. All right. So what I noticed earlier today was that if you look at the expiration, right, we got one put here. That's fine. All the premiums are all over 100K. This one we got $800,000 spending for Friday. Today is Wednesday, guys. These are extremely high risk because there's such a short expiration. The 160s are, because again, we are very close. We are already above that. It's at 167, popped up to like 168. Kind of came down a little bit today throughout the day. But that short expiration is extremely aggressive. So we definitely could see above I would say 170. We see a couple of these aiming for, right, this one, 170 for Friday, $2 per. 167.5. All right, we're a little bit below that. And then we see a few for next week, 175, 175. It wasn't until later in the day that we started to see 1017. So the October expiration. You know, what I basically said is this very likely seems to be some sort of, I do think we're going to see some news about this. If these ones are correct for the end of the week expiration, I definitely could see some news dropping by tomorrow. Tomorrow, you know, either today after hours, tomorrow after hours, before Friday is my expectation. And we, you know, it's just a hunch. Obviously, I could be wrong, but with all this flow coming in for Palantir, that is a possibility. We did have some breaking news today. If you know Charlie Kirk, the guy that goes to college campuses and you know, sets up a booth and has debates with people, he got shot today, shot in the neck. There's news all over Twitter on it. I would say avoid the video if you can, if you're a little squeamish. It's definitely, you know, kind of traumatizing. I would definitely, you know, I don't care what side you're on. I saw people on Twitter cheering for it. That's absolutely unacceptable. Prayers up for him, but I do think that with how he was shot, this chances of survival might be kind of low. So prayers up. Really hope that he's okay. But that's what's going on around the news right now. And if I were to take a guess, Palantir could be related to that news. There could be some sort of push for more monitoring of people and things like that, and that's kind of the space that Palantir is in. So, you know, hate this to be one of those situations where stocks move because somebody got hurt, you know, because of violence, but you know, that unfortunately that is the world that we live in at this point. So we'll see what happens with that. If you are looking for a position with this, I was saying the cheaper ones right here, 919 at least gives you till next week, 182 and a half. They spent almost 500K on that. This should be down closer to about $1 each right now. I did get into, I think these ones, 919 for 175. They are down at this point. I think they're down about like 25 to 30% already with where we're at right now. The chart for Palantir also looks pretty good. Where Palantir is experiencing a breakout to the upside. We do have this bit of an accumulation zone. If you look at this, this is just August so far. You had a distribution up here. We have accumulation. We do have, I put these little robots in here to show that Stacks AI had a shout out for Palantir, down over here. So there is a good possibility within, the next few weeks at the least, we could definitely see this higher. Probably toward 170 is where I would put the lower end of that mark. I think we could come back to retest this line pretty quick. So we'll see what ends up happening. Could take a few days, but I do want to say that with all that flow coming in, I think it might happen by tomorrow actually. So, as always, be careful with your positions, manage your risk. Never go into anything with the full boat, and make sure that you are careful with, if it goes down too much, take your premiums, and don't lose out too much on it. I see a lot of newer traders get into things blindly and end up in a situation where they are, they're down and they're looking at almost a full loss on a position. If you're down 40-50% and you don't have continued expectations of it to continue higher, you should be getting yourself out of it. So this situation too, again, we are at that kind of resistance area, so you can expect a little bounce around, but I do think we're going to break up above that pretty soon. What else do we have today? I wanted to share, we did have a Stacks AI position come in today. Let me share that with you guys. Stacks AI, if you guys are new with us, is our filter, our AI that allows us to see what's the most unusual situations where there's very likely somebody that's in the know. I like to think that there's somebody behind closed doors. They found out some information, and this is kind of the way where it's revealed to the world. They're not going to straight up come out and tell you that, there's this deal going on, or somebody's going to make a bunch of money off of it. Sometimes it's a acquisition, sometimes it's some sort of big contract that's coming in. We've seen that continuously with a lot of these names, and we also a lot of times see them buying heavily at the lows. Okay, so in this situation, Lyft came in for next year. I like these because, again, for a leap position, this is only $200 per contract right here. Spent 2.1 mil, 10,000 contracts at a strike of 25. So that's about a 30% move from where we're at right now. We're trading at right about 19. So we'll come back and revisit this. You guys will see this retest. We'll see this back tested every single month during my back test videos. So keep an eye out for those. But for example, this AMD position has already shot up from where they entered right there. We saw a lot of good movement from Google recently. Baidu had a big pop up recently. And this is the Palantir position. Palantir for December of this year, aiming for 185. So we might see that, that I like to think of that as the foundation for another reason why we want to get into Palantir right now. Coinbase, I know some of you guys are in Coinbase along with Chemo. That's his conviction. I always trust it when Chemo is getting into a position, but you do have a bit of a pop coming up. I drew this out a while ago. It's obviously not exactly to where I drew it out, but you do have it coming back down. I do think we should see a bit of a pop where we're at soon. So it is at this area of support and resistance, so we'll have to see. It's got to reclaim that and head back up. It had a big pop earlier this morning too. In terms of stacks, you always want to take a peek over at stacks for Coinbase as well. See what's going on in here. Are they continuing to buy? So look at that. Now, obviously, if I don't filter for the buys, you see them selling, getting out of a lot of these. A lot of big money is taking some of these shorter term positions off the table at this point. But in terms of the buys, all of today was all bullish. They're all aiming for the end of next week. They have one aiming for the end of this week above 325. So this is extremely, extremely aggressive. Small move, but, you know, look at it this way. And this is something that Max and I both say. They're not trying to put $579,000 on this position for it not to reach $325. They're going to lose out that entire $500,000 if it doesn't move, if it doesn't get and go up. So unlikely they're getting into this trying to lose their money. So that, you know, that's a part of the analysis that we do, seeing what big money is doing and using it to, you know, put it into consideration of what potentially could happen. IonQ, a little bit of a mixed bag here. We got some short-term stuff back and forth. If you look at the gold lines, these are the big money positions. They are aiming for higher, and it technically has already moved. Already went up from $40 up to $45. So what you do in these situations, go find these exact contracts on your, you know, in your analysis. Go check your brokerage. Double check to see if that volume is still in. Okay, if that volume has converted over to OI, which is open interest, it means that those contracts are still open and they're still waiting for something. In this situation, they could be looking to exercise those. I kind of, you know, we'll have to see, but these ones are up pretty heavy. 86 cents for that, so $86 per contract, $42 strike. If it's at 45 right now, it's already in the money. So, and that's already at least $3, right, in terms of it. So they've already multiplied that. AVGO, Broadcom. You see a lot of puts coming in today. Definitely a lot of puts. The run up might kind of be over for it right now. Let me see what is. Yeah, it's run up pretty hard since its earnings. In a lot of these situations, you'll see that it's near the top of this range. It's starting to show a bit of divergence too. You keep seeing down here, you keep seeing higher and higher and higher, but the indicators are starting to show lower. So I think puts would be the right position to take with Broadcom right now. There should be a bit of a pullback. Back to stacks, JD. So China names have been moving. These ones are aiming for December, which is it's a decent bet. 165 per contract. Yeah, if I filter for just the buys, look at that. They've just been buying the last few days. This entire week has just been purchasing for January, for October, December, January, November. Premiums for these two are a bit bigger. I would say anything under 100K, you can kind of take note of it, but not always going to be the most aggressive. We got some moves here expecting at least around a 20% move, right? So in terms of our charts, I think JD is ready for a move up. If you've seen my, let me find my chart, my picture. Oh, it's all the way over here. One of the things that I preach and that I love to see in a chart is this pattern. It's called a Wyckoff accumulation. A lot of people, there's a lot of different names for it. Some people, like, honestly, some people simplify it. This could be, some people consider like a head and shoulders position, right? Some people call this a cup and handle, where you have this and it does a cup, and then at the top over here it becomes a handle. You know, there's a lot of different names for it. At the end of the day, what it basically is, it needs to show that there's participation with the big money interests. You know, you and I don't have enough money to move things up or down. We're kind of just participating, we're watching. But at the end of the day, the big money interests, when they are getting into positions, you'll see the volume spike near the lower ends, lower ends of a chart. And then once they get to the right side of it, you'll see the candles and the price action start to chop around a whole lot more and get ready for a upward break. So we should see some volume coming in pretty soon. And another hint as well is obviously when we start to see that action start to come in with something like stacks. You know, having flow, having this kind of data really helps out. And you can also see that they're aiming for, they're buying some time. There's a little bit of, you know, not so much short term on this one. So again, I think this is one of those things where, you know, you should be able to look at these longer term contracts and expect, okay, we'll probably see us by January be approaching that $40 strike. If anything, 35 can be a little bit safer, obviously a little bit more expensive. So depending on the size of your portfolio and your risk or you know, your risk profile, that's kind of what you should be considering. SCO, I've been noticing. Oh, was it SCO? I feel like I saw more than that. Maybe it was a different ticker. Can't think of it off the top of my head. I swear I saw something like SCO that was coming in and kind of under the radar. It is near the bottom of a range. Definitely could see it possibly headed back up in time. Kind of getting that pattern. See spikes near the bottom of this range, so we definitely could see here maybe a heading. Oh, SOC. There we go. That you are correct. SOC. There we go. Filter for the buys. Unusual. All happens to be, all right, 9.35 mil here, 2.25 mil here, 3 mil here, all since the month started. And you got the big money down here, right? I mean, okay, so again, you can say, well, Eric, there's a bunch of these red ones. There's a bunch of puts being taken out as well. Look at the premiums, 52K, 137K. This one's 700K, okay. 120, 226, 57. Then look at your calls. 1.28 mil, 3 mil, 9.35 mil, 276,000, 700, oh no, not that, that's a put, 225 mil, 600K, 650K, 187K. So, SOC, definitely primed for the upside. All these that I drew out here were all gaps that needed to get filled. So this is headed back up. I think we definitely could see it back up at 26 pretty soon. You see a lot of participation down here too, and it bounced off of this lower trend line. Gamble bet on legislation closing oil pipeline in California. Yeah, that very well could be it, right? A lot of times you can understand the news can move these tickers around quite a bit. SMCI, I do believe SMCI, I already called this out a little bit ago. All right, so found support down here. We saw it pop already a little bit. SMCI, big money's buying. Look at that, 23 mil. I think that's more than enough for me to say I'd be bullish on the 2 mil here for the end of the week. It's ready up. 919 next week. 1.25 mil for 45. We're already at 44.68 is what this says. Back down to 43. I think SMCI we retest. Obviously, we're going to retest where we just were. Retest the other resistance up here. So what? 45, 47, 46, 77. Retest that 48. And then you have this big gap up here that we're looking to fill. If it were me, I would definitely say I would like to be alongside where the big money is. These ones were nice. 25 cents each for this one. But 23 mil spent on this one. These are definitely going to be a little bit more pricey now, especially now that it's more in the money. But for November, they've got some time. Yeah, $4. $4.20. How is this one down? Let's see, 40. Oh, that one's 45. There we go. Not 40. So maybe this one, if you're still looking to get into it, if you're a gambling man, maybe. I mean, this is only 2 days left. So that one's definitely going to be higher risk. Let's just talk about this real quick. I know we're getting close to close already, but you guys can still get into this tomorrow. Take a look here. What do you guys notice with Adobe? Everything, from Monday is all these calls being purchased for Friday for the $400 strike. We do have these puts aiming for lower, 1.12 mil. We also have these calls a little bit further back for 420 and higher. But as of right now, Stacks is saying go bullish on Adobe. I think part of it probably has to do with Oracle shooting up like crazy. Adobe is also a partial AI play. They do offer a lot of AI services with their graphic design and their editing type of softwares. So premiums, they're kind of pricey, $500 per contract or so. So what I would do is tomorrow, make sure you keep an eye out on it and see what happens there. I just had an alert for Palantir, but that's an interesting little candlestick. Palantir at close shot up to that and then came right back down. If you're in this position, I would just say at least wait through tomorrow. Personally, I don't like those weeklies. I like to give it a little bit more time. So that's why I'm in next week's position for that. Now, obviously, the shorter time frame that you get, the higher risk that you're taking, the more rewarding it can be when it does go in your favor. But it also can be very devastating if it goes against you. We saw, let me pull this one up, ANET. I realize I suck at trading weeklies. Too much of a game. I mean, that's how it is. Weeklies are gambling. You gotta realize that. The thing I love about stacks and the thing that works best for most traders is, you'll always, one of the things that happens with a lot of people is they're always looking over at their neighbors, right? And the thing about trading is there's always going to be somebody that had a better trade than you did. There's always going to be somebody with a higher percentage or a higher dollar return than you. And the more the more that you sit in that, the more that you think about that, the more it puts you on tilt, and the less, the less decisive or the less educated your decisions become. When you use fear and greed to make your decisions, I mean, that's basically what the market wants you to do. So, weeklies can be fun because when they move in the right direction, they can be extremely rewarding. Look at Oracle for this week. There are people that purchased. I saw somebody purchase a contract for like $30 and they sold it for over 1,000 today. So I mean, yeah, it's great when you hit those. You know, it's like winning the lottery. It's like hitting that bet in the casino that nobody really ever bets on, but it's kind of that side bet that, you know, gives you 30 to 1 or something like that. So as you mature in trading, you start to realize how important it is to make sure that you buy some time with a lot of these. The thing that helps with stacks is you can usually find longer term contracts to get into. And the nice thing as well is when you notice that big money is taking those weeklies, it gives you a little bit more confidence, a little bit more conviction that something may be happening at that time. So use their expirations and their strikes to give hints as to what they're expecting. So this ANET one, ANET's moving a little bit too. It already went earlier this week from 41 and last week from 135, 141, 135. It's already up at 151 as of today. But we had two unusual contracts come in here. $170,000 for the 175 strike by November. So that might be an interesting one to consider. Somebody just shouted that out in our Discord. Another one I noticed today, AMD. Here, let me just pull this up on our charts for you guys too. We'll do both of them. AMD, you'll notice there's quite a bit of flow for AMD, quite a bit of short term, so 9/19, which is next week. I think we're going to see a continuation on that. So let's pull up TradingView. Let's look at ANET real quick, and we'll look at AMD. Right, ANET we already saw move up. Is this all-time highs for this name? Yeah, I think we'll see all-time highs for continued all-time highs for ANET. Do we have some news? Oh yeah, we had PPI come in. PPI, producer price index, is lower than expected. So therefore, you know, inflation isn't as crazy as people were expecting. I do also think that with all this talk about the tariffs potentially getting removed, that will also cool down inflation to an extent as well. So this, we're probably looking for it to hit 155 at least if we see a breakout or so. AMD had a bit of a drop, looking to recover. I think we could see a little bit of a inverse head and shoulders here. 159. I think we come back toward 164 or so and head back up. I also saw a lot of talk about MU. Yeah, MU looking like it's going up, going back up as well. Man, just think about this. I want you guys to put yourselves back at April when we had the tariffs announcement, right? What was everybody saying? What was everybody thinking at that point? Remember how Warren Buffett says, be fearful when everybody's greedy and be greedy when everybody's fearful. That was peak fear, right? Nobody knew what was going to happen with tariffs. Nobody knew what was going to happen with the way that the markets will react. But that's where you see a lot of the buying. You'll see the volume spike in these areas. When everybody's fearful, big money's quietly accumulating, and they're also making sure that the news cycle keeps us scared, thinking that things are going to get worse. So MU, very possible we can see this headed up further too. We don't really have anything today in terms of earnings. Tomorrow it's Kroger and Adobe, which are the two big ones that we're looking at. So KR for Kroger, we don't have too much in terms of the what was on stacks, at least for Kroger. Kroger, near the lower end of it, I feel consumer sentiment's been pretty bad. We'll see if this upholds this lower end. We could definitely see a breakdown towards 64, but if we see a good report, we will see this pop up a little bit. Win, I believe Win is one of those ones that if you were watching Stacks AI, this should be up at this point from where the entry was. You need more Oracle earning gambles. I would say Adobe is going to be the next closest one, at least this week, but I don't think it's going to move quite like Oracle. That's just the thing. Oracle definitely surprised everybody with what their earnings, their report was saying. And keep in mind, too, they had a double miss. So, you know, sometimes you get lucky with those. I will say the CoreWeave one we got lucky with as well, because CoreWeave popped like crazy. Made a few $1,000s off of that already this morning. I have one runner that I'm leaving for later. But Win, looks like looks like what happened was 6 days ago they had a settlement, and so that's kind of relieved the pressure on it. I believe that, I mean, let me double check. When was the Stacks AI for Win? What date was that? That was oh no, it wasn't even a Stacks AI. It was, we saw how many millions of dollars? We saw $64 million spent on it on the 28th, which is right. Oh, I guess that's near the top over here. Thought it was a little while ago though. Yeah, 828. I mean, tell me this. Looking at this chart, while we do have a bit of a pullback, they purchased for end of the year, so December. So you can kind of do this where I'll take where they entered. Let's just say they entered near the top here. They have it aiming for end of the year. So this is how much time you have, right? Where are you going to get out if it drops to, right? Is it going to be down here? Is it going to be down here? Where are you going to let that ride out to? Give yourself a plan. On the top end, they're aiming for 120 or higher, which technically they already are. So, you know, what's your ratio? Where are you aiming for? You know, look for these previous highs that we've had. So maybe here, maybe here. These would be the targets you're looking for. Okay. The only thing about that win position is the fact that it is already in the money. And how do I see that? I see this gold medal. Gold medal means that it's already in the money, usually meaning that it's a little bit less of an aggressive move. When it's out the money, they're expecting a bigger move outside of it. They're expecting a larger move because these ones have more risk to them. When you do an out of the money position, if it doesn't reach that strike by your expiration, this entire contract goes to zero. So there's more riding on it. For an in the money one, as long as it stays above that strike price, as long as it stays above 120, they're going to maintain their value. They're going to maintain the rights to those options. So there's inherent value to in the money contracts. But again, 64 mil, I think they know something. Something's about to happen before the end of the year. And look at it from the scope of, they got in 2 weeks ago. Price hasn't really moved at all, but there's a reason why they purchased for three more months out. So I would just say probably be a little bit more patient with that one. As always, I'm gonna plea for you guys to help me hit that like, thumbs up button on the YouTube channel. It's just something that, you know, if I didn't have to ask you guys for it, I wouldn't. But it's just something that helps push us out to more people. We've been doing these streams every Wednesday. We're also doing our Discord stream for our Discord and for TraderLink. So, you know, if you guys are in our, you know, with our membership, you guys can always join in that. I did notice that the people that are only in the Stacks software don't necessarily have full access to that live stream channel. So what I'll do is I'll drop a link in there and it'll open up your Discord to join and give you a little temporary membership to watch our live stream. So I'll be doing that. I'll probably be doing that tomorrow around market close, just as we always do. What I've been trying to do is I will stream in our Discord Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. I will do our live stream on here on YouTube every Wednesday. Hope you guys have been getting a lot out of this. Hope you guys have also been making some profits. If you took some profits today, took some of the plays that we gave you guys from this earlier this week and last week, you know, we've been on a heater. We called out American Eagle last week. We called out, obviously we had Oracle and CoreWeave. We've had, what else did we do? We called out Lululemon and those puts. We've had a lot of good call outs lately. We called out United Healthcare a while ago. We already made our profits off of those. And so let me go over what am I currently in, and what am I watching. I'm still in Snapchat. Snapchat's been in this formation for a while. It's near the bottom of it. If anything, this is the time to be getting in, but it's definitely been flirting with that $7 range quite a bit. And there is a little tiny bit down here, down towards $5 to $6. But Snapchat was a double stacks AI print that we saw. Oh, hold on. I didn't even show it to you there. There we go. Snapchat over here, all the way down near the bottom. If you are bullish on Snapchat in the long run, keep in mind this is aiming for middle of next year. I think the strike was for 13 or 14. Let me double check. Right here, Snapchat, $13 strike. These are down right now. They're down to like 40 to 50 cents per contract. So you can get into these at a little bit of a discount. Obviously, just waiting this one out. They got in at $7.77. It's already down towards 7 right now. So that's a position I would consider. Put a little bit of trust into Stacks AI. On the other hand, as well, you know, when everybody's fearful on Snapchat, this is the range where you want to be a little greedy. So I like this position. The other one that just came in was Lyft. I already purchased a few of these contracts as well. Lyft is looking pretty decent. We are looking to break out a little bit, head up back toward about $20.77. That would be my first target right here. Then you have 21.52, 22.80, and look at this big gap that needs to be filled up here. So I should use a different color for my, what color should we use? Let's use this blue. So that's my Wyckoff accumulation range. We're looking very similar to this. Let's go ahead and label this actually. So selling climax. Actually, really, no. Selling climax, automatic reaction. See a secondary test. So really the range is technically around here. We see more secondary tests, more secondary tests. This could be considered a spring. We have LPS, last point of supply. Here we got the buy up. I think volume's still kind of low, but what we're looking for here is continuation into a sign of strength. So if I were to give you, I think we could still bounce a little bit here. That would be the hope right here. So we're at this range up here. Well, that's for lift. And another thing is, let's put in our, we just had Stacks AI shout that out today. So that's, we know, we're seeing some, a good setup here. That's how I'd put it. It's a good setup. Definitely could see this headed up higher in time. And we have quite a bit of time too. If you set this up in terms of where we are today, you have till mid next year. So June, right? Set your stop losses. You don't want it to come down too far, but your first target is the top of the range. If you have runners, you could let it try to aim for at least halfway through this. All right, so 26, very possible for lift. All right. What else am I in? Oh, we are in TTD. This one's down quite a bit. I might average down soon. TTD, it's just coming right back down. We still, I mean, these are two prime buying areas, in my opinion. So, might give it a day or two, let it play out, and then maybe Friday consider adding to this position. Long term, like we said here, we have till January 2027. It is also a Stacks AI print. So came in on the 14th of last month, aiming for January 2027, $65 strike. These ones are kind of pricey. And you can always go ahead and take a look in Stacks and see what the continued sentiment happens to be. So there is some stuff that's aiming for right above 52, above 50. This one's not bad. December or October 24th. It's kind of an awkward expiration. October 17th is the monthly. This one's a weekly. So I think it'll bounce back. You know, right now TTD, there's fear. There's a lot of fear on it right now. Let me see. What else do I have for you guys? I'm still in my core weave position. I had a few contracts. Look at how I drew this out. So basically it gave you three scenarios where we could bounce from. We could bounce, and we basically bounced at the first area that I drew. So we bounced back up. We're retesting 125 basically. So we'll see. There's now 3 big candles to the upside. We could see some continued movement. We want to see something like what happened here with that breakout. What else? K-Web and American Airlines. K-Web had kind of an ugly day today. I was really hopeful. Overnight, we saw this big push up. This is part of our 1K challenge. We are in this position. K-Web's looking at like a 20 to 40% return so far, and this push up overnight would have brought us to over 100% return on that position. Unfortunately, right at open, it just dropped super quickly. I didn't get out of those just yet. I'm still bullish on China overall. We're looking for this to retest that 40 and eventually break up higher from there. So this one, I don't love the expiration right now. The expiration we have for this is for next Friday. So we might, depending on how price action looks tomorrow and the day, on Friday, we might consider getting out of this and then looking for a different contract. And maybe just taking our 20 or 30% return for now. American Airlines, still just waiting on this one. The thing with American Airlines was that we saw a lot of big money buying back here. So on the 26th and 27th, we saw, was it almost $6 million being spent here. And on some pretty, end of this month, November as well, $14 strike. It was at 13. It's dropped down right under 13 at this point. And the sentiment recently has kind of been a little bit mixed, but I would just say, if I looked at open interest, I did that the other day. Open interest on these contracts is over 100,000 contracts that are still open. So November 21st, $14 strike. They are down right now, like 10% or something like that. But I think these are still some sort of news is going to hit for the airlines, and especially American Airlines here. We already saw a little pop for this. We saw this huge spike up overnight, and then it just came right back down and opened up just about flat. This was due to Spirit Airlines announcing their bankruptcy filings, and so I think that might have something to do with it. Maybe there's some sort of acquisition or merger going on that could cause American Airlines to pop from there. So I'd hold on tight for this. We have a little bit more time on it. So I think the big one we're waiting on right now is just basically Palantir. We'll got to see how it moves. Like I was mentioning earlier, the whole thing with Charlie Kirk, hoping he's okay. But I do think Palantir might have some sort of involvement with the fallout from it. And how soon we can see that type of reaction and that news, we'll see. Give it through tomorrow, and most of those contracts expire by Friday. So all right, that's all I really had for you guys today. We're really just waiting on Adobe for tomorrow. Like I said, with this Adobe bouncing off this trend line, if we see positive sentiment, positive report, we'd definitely see this back at 376, 392, possibly back over 400. We do see a lot of short-term expectation for it to be above 400. So if I were to give you an earnings gamble and you're willing to spend the $500, right, keep in mind it's one of those things where we say size for zero, meaning that there's a possibility it'll go straight down to zero if it goes in the other direction. But the 919 400 calls would probably be the kind of gamble you're looking for. All right. Is there anything else you guys want me to go over before I log off for today? I know today there wasn't really any earnings to talk about. It was really, I think the big news today was just the Charlie Kirk thing. Like I said, again, really hoping he's all right. But we'll see how things play out from there. I will also say we had, I think, 25 people watching today, which is an all-time high for us. Obviously, us doing these live streams on a consistent basis. I hope you guys are looking forward to it every single week. Leave a comment. Let me know. Help me out with the YouTube algo. Hit that like button. Make sure you hit subscribe, and in particular, hit the notification bell. I usually try to go live on about 30 minutes before close. So over here on the West Coast Pacific time, it's 12:30. But you guys will get a notification. I have it set on my phone too. If you hit the notification bell, you'll get a notification right to your phone the moment that I go live. Basically, the moment that I hit that go live button on my streaming platform, you guys will be notified, and you can always join in. Obviously, these are recorded on the YouTube, so if you miss it, you can always come back and revisit it later, get an idea of what I'm trying to say, get an idea of the positions we've taken and things like that. All right. If you're on our Discord, keep the conversation going on in there. I will see you guys around. Make sure you take those screenshots and send them into the Club Profits so we can always brag and boast about how great our community over here is. Have a great rest of your guys' day, and I will see you guys in the next one.